In this moment, I cannot say what's wrong or right. It's not hard to fool me, 'cause I'm addicted to good times. Either way, I fall. No need to say, but we are heading that way. I fall to the edge of it all. To the edge of it all. So tell your goodbye, 'cause I'm going no matter what. Yeah, so set the bar back before the moment flies. So tell your goodbye, 'cause I'm going no matter what. So set the bar back before the moment flies. It's not a problem, 'cause I know what I'm getting into. Yeah, nothing can stop me, 'cause I'm addicted to you, and I realize either way I follow. No need to say where we are heading that way. I follow to the edge of it all. So tell your goodbye, 'cause I'll find no matter what. Yeah, so set the bar back before the moment flies. So tell your goodbye, 'cause I'll find no matter what. So set the bar back before the moment flies.
Bobbity bop. We're back. Shout out to the CIA, the confident, intelligent, and assertive men out there.
Welcome, everybody. This is D. Durrell with the Sector CD, also broadcasting from D. Durrell the Rebirth. Also, D. Durrell Life Solutions. Definitely check out that channel. And also, you all can check me out on the Black Balance Network, which I basically share that channel with my brother, BMT Black Male Talk. Hope everybody is having a good Friday. Give a shout out to my brother, Couch Potato. Give a shout out to Dr. Nikki Proctor Walden, PhD, in the house. Happy to see you in here today. Couch Potato said, kings understand kings, so it's only right for the Godfather to speak on the Godfather. Facts. Now, unlike a lot of these clout chasing ass Negroes in the sector, I'm not talking about in this sector, the other sectors that I'm in, and they know who they are. There are a lot of people who are fake and phony, and even in his death, people are trying to make excuse me, people are attempting to make money and get views off of Kevin Samuels' name. What's up, Quiet Storm? How you doing? How are you doing today? Now, I can speak on Kevin because I have had several interactions with Kevin on panels in the Manosphere. I'm not going to sit here and act like me and Kevin Samuels was cool. No, we were not. Me and Kevin Samuels were actually cool with some of the same people. That is true. Kevin Samuels was very cool with Obsidian Mahmoud Ali. I'm cool with Obsidian also. Kevin was definitely cool with O'Shea Duke Jackson. Definitely cool with my little nephew. And others that I knew. The last time that me and Kevin Samuel had a direct interaction with each other was actually, I want to say May, or I think it was April. Yeah, it was April, the middle of April 2020. I was actually looking, searched for a while in O'Shea Duke Jackson's archive for that video where Kevin Samuel gave us the blueprint to what him made him successful as of today, or while he was living. He actually told us what he was going to do, how he was going to do it. It was on a Sunday Rumble. He actually said that he was going to go live. He talked about the YouTube algorithm. He talked about shifting his platform from catering to men in the manosphere to catering to women. He complained that the men in the sector did not support the men in the manosphere enough. Me and Kevin Samuel actually had direct conversation talking about HBCUs. Kevin talked about his experience going to the Bayou Classic for the first time. And for those that don't know what the Bayou Classic is, the Bayou Classic is a classic um, football competition between Grambling State University and Southern University in Louisiana. They broadcast, for some time, they broadcast that game the day after Thanksgiving. I'm sorry, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, for probably the last 25, 30 years. His first experience going to an HBCU, just like many Black people, particularly that are not from the South, it was the first time, just like many, just like Mr. Dennis Spurley and others, that saw Black people functioning on one accord without anybody acting a goddamn fool, without anybody being uncivil, everybody having a good time, nobody getting shot, nobody getting robbed. People enjoying themselves and representing their university and their city. That's what Black colleges represent. Kevin Samuels asked me things about Southern University. He asked certain things about Grambling State University. And of course, we start talking about the beautiful Black women that go to these colleges and universities that Kevin spoke on. Kevin said he didn't see that many high yellow, thick, Black, beautiful Black women. He didn't see that many chocolate, brown skin, every shade in his life. This was April 2020. Prior to that, probably about 3 or 4 months before that, Kevin was on the panel again. And Kevin, again, was talking about the finances of YouTube, building your channel, looking at the algorithm, and looking at the economics of YouTube. Kevin was about money. Kevin was about money. I've actually seen him. I can remember twice. I may have been on a panel with him more than that, maybe no more than 3 times. But I definitely remember twice in 2020 that I was on the panel with him, with Kevin, O'Shea Du Jackson, and some of the other popular figures in the Manosphere. Me and Kevin never had no bad words. Kevin is not a roaster. Kevin is not someone that's going to be yelling and hollering and screaming at you. Kevin was pretty much very low key, to the point, stayed his position, and he'll bounce. Now, there are people most people who comment on Kevin now are people that didn't know anything about Kevin Samuels prior to May 2020. When Kevin stated he was going to go live Monday through Friday at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern on this show focusing on women, most people did not know who Kevin was. Kevin may have had 30, 40, maybe 50,000 subscribers. And on his live streams, he would do anywhere between maybe 150 to maybe 200. And those were good numbers. And there's a lot of people in the ministry who does those numbers, whether they have that amount of subscribers or not. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was never a big Kevin Samuels fan before the late night, the 9 o'clock show. I was a person that was critical of some of the things Kevin was doing. I was a person that had, thoughts that Kevin probably was low key LGBT. Now, as far as his content, I would watch some of the stuff as he would talk about fragrances, talk about boots, talk about different, suits and things like that. I did actually like when he talked about clothing and fashion and some of the perfume, the cologne stuff. Yes. I was a fan of some of that. Not all the time. Not at all. But I would watch from time to time. I would definitely watch from time to time. Now, before I continue, let me give some shout outs. Shout out to Ghost. Shout out to Nikki Proctor. Quiet. What's up, Rizzle Lyricist? I see Miss Tina in the house. What's going on? Tina said, never listened to a single Kevin Samuels video, but I have heard bad things about it. Everybody has heard bad things about Kevin Samuels. It's because Kevin Samuels is YouTube capital. Kevin Samuels is YouTube royalty. I have seen Kevin Samuels' evolution. I remember watching Kevin Samuels on and off since 2018. I remember seeing Kevin Samuels get roasted in the Manosphere. I seen Kevin Samuels get offended, get roasted, and he finally found a spot interacting with BGS Ipmore. For those that don't know BGS Ipmore, he's an old, decrepit ass man who think he's a YouTube bootleg philosopher that talks a lot of shit and can barely pay his own bills. I don't actually like BGS Ipmore. I think he's he says a lot of dumb misogynistic shit that don't make no sense, and he attempts to substantiate his claims through research you don't understand. And right now he's hiding behind Dr. Tia Son Johnson. He's hiding behind an intellectual at this point, who's also an incel. So, but with Kevin found a home where he would get respect by going over there with DGS. And there's a few others. He can go over there with O'Shea, and they would show respect to him. but mainly BGS. What's up, Unadulterated Truth? Tina in the house. What's up, Tyler Durden? LV, what's going on, brother? We got a nice LV. We got a nice WrestleMania Backlash coming up. Unadulterated Truth said he got roasted a lot. They thought he was too feminine. I don't think AM liked him at all. No, he didn't. He did not. Matter of fact, Angry Man got pissed off the fact that Kevin Samuels spoke fondly of O'Shea and called him a genius when O'Shea went over 100,000 K in his subscribers. Angry Man was mad about that. Angry Man been mad because nobody really deals with him like that, and he don't get his flowers. He thinks he's supposed to get all kind of flowers, and nobody's giving him flowers. He should blame his own subscribers for that. And Angry Man has some very popular subscribers that support him. Tell them to give you your flowers. But you're right. He did get roasted a lot. They did say that he was very feminine. They did think he was LGBT. And they treated him as such. Kevin felt like, and I know this because I heard it out of his own mouth. Kevin made a switch for financial reasons. Kevin felt like he wasn't making enough money, just catering to men. And women pay more. And that's the truth. Most of my most loyal supporters financially are women. Most of my most loyal financial supporters have always been women, for the most part. Back when the sector was really, really hot, the Umar sector was really, really hot back in, let's say, November, December to about maybe April of last year. I had five to seven donors that I knew were going to donate to me every show, every week. Whether I went live or not, they were going to donate to me at least once. And that happened for like 6 months. It's just a fact. Kevin dove into that demographic. And he used clever means to galvanize black women. And then you understand, we always have had a tendency to create the fads, whether it's social media, American culture, whatever black people find popular, others will follow. And as you know, once Kevin became popular, then you start seeing other groups of people coming in asking Kevin, do they deserve a high value man? And he gave him his honest opinion. Now, the issues that I had with Kevin was in regards to some of the European-like measuring sticks that he applied to black women. I think it was unfairly. And his approach was, to me, not tested. And he was a bit disrespectful to the women. That's my opinion. Everybody has a right to agree or disagree. But I cannot deny the fact that Kevin Samuel saved the Manosphere. Although he never mentioned the Manosphere's name, although he never mentioned any of the content creators outside of advertising Obsidian's book, Kevin Samuel actually saved the Manosphere. And he made the Manosphere more relevant because the content creators in the Manosphere that had content on Kevin, whether he was on a panel as a guest, they used that content to state their stance on Kevin, whether they disagreed or agreed, liked and disliked. When Kevin started really taking off, like in June, July, you began to see guys in the Manosphere wearing suits. They're wearing cheap ass, ugly suits. I remember Solo TV from Minnesota tried to wear an ugly, cheap looking gray suit. That looked hilarious. I thought it was funny. Some of the Pookies and Ray Rays in the Manosphere got mad, such as Angry Man, because Kevin said that they should improve how they look. When you got 45-year-old men looking like they 14 with a Nike hat, a Chicago Bulls jersey, some gym shorts, or every time you're wearing something, you got you look like someone like you know how like those movies where they show like say Jerome from Martin, you in the 90s and you still dressing like you in the 70s. That's how some of these grown ass Negroes look in 2022 and the 2020s, in the 20s, looking like they dressing like they in the 90s. That's how some of them look. And that's facts. That niggas up there dressing with their hat to the side, and chains and shit. Wearing polo shirts and shit with name all on it, big emblems, baggy jeans, riding around in their car and shit with gold chains, thinking they look fly. Like, really? Kevin made an attempt to raise the bar in the manosphere relative to the dress and how black men conducted themselves professionally. I mean, yeah. Now, for myself, I never took YouTube that serious because I'm real life professional, real life high value. I don't need YouTubers telling D Darrell, the real high value man, that has shown the receipts how I'm supposed to look and dress. But when you calling the shots in your own business, you can dress however the hell you want to. In case somebody want to know. See, with entrepreneurship and success in entrepreneurship, that entails the freedom dress how you would like to on whatever day. Some days on a Friday, I would dress down. Sometimes when I'm working on a Saturday, I may dress real relaxed, but also respectful. And so Kevin Samuel gave Black YouTube and Black men an alternative way to present themselves to the masses, because these videos are watched by people on every continent. My original D. Durrell channel had consisted of over 25% of my viewership came from India and Asia, which I didn't understand at all. As we speak, I have a large percentage of my viewers that watch the playbacks and so on. They actually come from Latin America, from South America, which I don't get. Because nobody from those countries come on panels or they present themselves in the chat, but they watch. Appreciate that, Dr. Nick. You say D. Durrell, the alpha male. Correct. I say. What's up, B Dub Boogie? Yeah, B. Yeah, that's been your avatar for the last, and I know that because I saw it. I've seen you all over the Manosphere, and you're right on that. Now, many of the Manosphere content creators, those particularly who support Kevin Samuel, were in line in thinking that Kevin Samuel was on the brink of being mainstream, and he was going to go mainstream and go into Hollywood and go into all of these different entertainment areas that has never really been done in this sector, particularly in Black YouTube, period. Now, I think that at minimum, well, I'm not going to say minimum, but I think that Kevin Samuel had the ability to maybe host a show on VH1 or MTV or something like that. I think he had the ability to maybe be in a Tyler Perry movie, having a small part, or being on a reality show of on some level. I think he had the potential to do that. I think he was developing into that. However, unfortunately, that time, it was his time, and we will never know what would have happened, what would have came into fruition. We don't know. We can only speculate based on what has occurred in his development since May 2020. It was around this time that Kevin Samuel began the 9 o'clock show. Almost 2 years. I remember when the show first started, Kevin usually was doing 100, 150, maybe 200. Kevin did 500. He was doing 500 viewers max. Within a week, that 500 turned to 1,000, 2,000, 3,500. He went viral. It tripled. And before you know it, In 2020, Kevin Samuels was consistently doing 25 to 30,000 viewers watching his show, and Kevin was easily doing $2,000 or $3,000 a night, easily. I've seen people donate $500 max consistently to Kevin Samuels. Before you know it, other content creators from other sectors began to mimic Kevin Samuels. They began to steal his content. Now, Kevin Samuels, I'm going to say this, because I'm saying the good, the bad, and the ugly. Kevin Samuels did steal Manosphere talking points. He did. Now, to me, I don't really look at it as stuff because I understand the content creators who are bitter about some of the stuff he did, and he didn't give him credit. But Kevin Samuels did steal Manosphere talking points. He took talking points from Alan Roger Curry. He took talking points from RBR and others. Now, do I really care? No, I don't. The reason why is everyone steals and borrows other people's talking points. That happens all the time. I mean, that's part of the YouTube game. Bigger YouTubers steal content from smaller YouTubers and they capitalize on it. Yeah, that's right, unadulterated truth. There was a guy who would give Kevin Samuels $400 to $500 every show. Yes, and that's when he made a song. Every time the guy donated, he would play the song. Yes, some of the people stole from Sergeant Willie P. Sergeant Willie P is Manosphere 1.0. He's been around since like, what, 13, 14? Most people in the Manosphere don't even know Willie P. Most of them don't. I wasn't even a big fan of Sergeant Willie P. But this was the influence of Kevin Samuels. This is what Kevin Samuels brought to the table. People capitalized on him. And to me, even, I'm going to say this, man, and this is where I'm like, damn, YouTube, when it's time to show your humanity, sometimes some people just lack that thereof. There are people that were celebrating and laughing that Kevin Samuels passed away. I thought that was heartless. To me, it was demonic in nature. Definitely not Christ-like or any religion-like. And that was embarrassing. You should not be celebrating that somebody died. I don't care what he said that you didn't like. That was ridiculous. I mean, Kevin Samuels has family. He has a mother. He has a daughter. Kevin Samuels has friends. There are people in the Manosphere that he was real close to. I mean, that they developed relationships with. This man had other dynamics of his life outside of YouTube. I found it quite despicable that grown ass women and men were celebrating that this man died. He made his transition. Now, there are people on YouTube right now that I despise. But I don't want anything physically or mentally to happen or financially to cause any harm to anybody, nor do I want anybody to suffer any traumatic situation because I don't like it. I really don't. And I think sometimes as human beings that we get caught up in this cyber space, we need to tone it down and reflect. Take a brief, deep breath and understand this entertainment, even though it has certain avenues that are real. People don't really know each other on here. We only communicate through the common interest and common subject matter. What's up, Exposed to Manosphere? You see, I didn't like that celebration either. I didn't the celebrations. I didn't like. I thought that was horrible. I feel like that was quite embarrassing, and it was not a good look. But there were people who thought it was funny. Just because a man, he only gave his opinion. Who said that you had to listen to what Kevin Samuels stated? If you didn't like his content, you could turn. You could watch something else. You didn't have to watch. And that's another thing I don't understand. Some of the main complaints were people who consistently watch. People who consistently watch, but yet they complain. That happened a lot. You're right. People do become emotionally detached. Now, I have a problem with this exposure manosphere, not for what you stated, but the reality of what that evolves into. He says, on the flip side, social media elevates people otherwise would be ignored in real life. The problem with that is that those who would be ignored in real life pretend and they go under the disguise as if they have, excuse me, they've accomplished things in real life that reflect why they're popular on YouTube, which is actually the reverse. It's the popularity on YouTube that has enabled you to not be ignored in real life. But there are people who will, you know, misrepresent themselves and say they have degrees, money, other levels of education and training, lifestyle, travel, sexual prowess, and other things that never existed. And unfortunately, guys, I hate to say it, Kevin Samuel was actually guilty of that. Kevin Samuel's real life prior to YouTube did not reflect, for the most part, financially, what he was saying on YouTube. Kevin Samuel was not as successful prior to Kevin Samuel's show that went live at night. Prior to that, Kevin Samuel was a good YouTuber that had a large, decent platform, a big platform. He had over 40, 50,000. So that's nothing to be ashamed at. He would garner a couple of hundred or several hundred or more on a live stream consistently. He made decent money, but he wasn't making $1 million or two plus $1 million a year. Kevin Samuel had a $800 consultation package that I couldn't believe people were buying. But hey, I can't hate his hustle. I cannot hate his hustle. If people want to waste their money on products, who am I to tell you what to spend your money on? It's up to you. If you felt you got your money's worth, hey, that's between you and that person. That's just my perspective. But you cannot say that the Kevin Samuels show was not entertaining, particularly that first 6 to 8 months. Excuse me. You didn't know what Kevin was going to say, and you didn't know what the women were going to say. It made for great theater, and that's the reason why the show became so popular. What's going on, Sam McQueen? How you doing, baby? Yes, Kevin Samuel did hit the jackpot. But see, I want to bring this up, guys, because Kevin Samuel, um, slightly and very tactfully talked about his medical issues because people knew in the space that Kevin Samuel suffered from cancer. Kevin Samuel had, I think, stage 2 or 3 cancer. Kevin Samuel talked about having cancer before. He talked about, I think he had stage 2 or stage 3 cancer. So Kevin Samuel was sick. Kevin Samuel did recover from chemo. Matter of fact, he talked about recovering from it, and he said they put that poison, quote unquote, poison into your body to kill the cancer. He didn't speak of that. Not very often, but he would definitely give his perspective on life and talk about the fact that he did suffer from that illness. Very subtle in conversation. I've come to the understanding from just me speculating. I don't think Kevin Samuel thought he would ever live a long, graceful life. I think that Kevin Samuel was a person that knew that he probably was going to die young or middle age because of his illness and health issues. and he and he knew that he had to enjoy life as and make the most of his success. So he knew that. And I really do think that the show revitalized him personally. Now I know he gives off the image of whatever in real life, but I think he was rejuvenated. He gained a higher sense of self. Yes, he came off a bit brash and arrogant and disrespectful and so on. But he was living his best life. Kevin Samuels was making around 2 million plus a year. He made $1 million in 20. He made at least 2-3 billion in 2021, and he was on pace to do the same thing in 2022. I know that for a fact. For a fact. So yes, I'm here only to point out now there are people saying Kevin Samuel uh, died of drugs and he was having sex with a lady or something and all this. Look, I don't know. I'm not getting in all of that. It's none of my business. But what I am going to speak on is my interaction with him, how I perceived him. I'm only doing it one time. I will not have recurrent uh, videos about this because it's not necessary. Please allow the family with respect to grieve over their loss because they know him as the way he presented with them, not based on you in YouTube and what you felt as he was a YouTube personality, a persona that may have represented his life, certain aspects in an exaggerated, saturated manner. However, we don't know this guy personally. We don't know his family, and they don't see Kevin Samuels the way we see Kevin Samuels. And let's be respectful of that. So, guys, with that being said, D. Darrell got to go and help the community. I have clients who are waiting to be seen. I will be participating in some content, I think, with Dr. Bombay tonight. I will be doing a demon infused show, whatever, which they're going to talk about me as the Godfather on Saturday with LV. I'd like you all to check that out. Y'all have a great day. Peace.